Everyone, welcome to the Amazon monthly briefing from PlanetRetail RNG. My name is Jack O'Leary. I'm an analyst here on our team covering digital trends, including marketplaces, Amazon.com, and global retail innovation. I'm excited to run through some of the recent developments with Amazon, as well as some Amazon tactics here with you today. Just a reminder that this webinar will be available after the call. A recording with the slides as well will be available on the RNG portal. If you are a Planet Retail only subscriber, feel free to get in touch with your account manager to discuss access and availability of this webinar after the call as well. I will also be sharing my email at the end of the call, so I encourage anyone listening in today to feel free to reach out to me if they have any questions about what we're going to be covering. But with that, let's get started. So what I wanted to do today is go over some of the recent events and happenings with Amazon over the past month. As always, there's been a fair amount of news coming from one of the world's most influential and large retailers. After that, we're actually kicking off our 2018 Amazon Tactics series with this month's webinar. This month, we are going to be focusing on the concept of winning the buy box, a particularly critical aspect of success on Amazon.com that is really influential to consumer behavior when they're shopping on Amazon. So with that, let's just jump right in. So in looking at some of the recent events of the past month, what Amazon has really been up to, there's been a lot of kind of operational changes and movements around their total, what I'll call grocery pantry offering. It has always been somewhat convoluted to the end consumer to view. You've got from Amazon.com your shelf-stable goods available in programs like Prime Pantry, where you as a consumer are able to fill up a box, optimize an e-commerce order, and receive discounts on typical pantry items. Subscribe and Save, a program where a shopper can set up an automatic reorder system for the items that they consume most. But additionally, since 2007, Amazon has also offered their Amazon Fresh platform, which is their grocery delivery. This has always been an additional fee on top of the already $99 per year in the United States Amazon Prime membership. Fresh deliveries were scheduled for specific times of the day, contained perishable items, and had limited geographic availability across the country, usually around metro areas with high density of desirable Amazon Fresh shoppers to really make the economics work for Amazon. More recently, they rolled out their Prime Now rapid delivery platform. Prime Now operates in over 32 US metro areas and close to a dozen cities in Amazon's international markets, and offers shoppers delivery of well over 10,000 items and many perishable items in around 2 hours or under. It's a system that's fulfilled by a courier network of Amazon contracted drivers, enabling rapid, high-speed convenience at a level that much of the rest of the retail world has been trying to replicate as the years have gone on. And then finally, more recently, we've seen Amazon develop new technology capabilities focused around grocery and delivery. Their Dash buttons and Dash replenishment program. We're really thinking the strategy here for Amazon long-term is to take a lot of the items that don't take a lot of consideration for shoppers, a lot of the often reordered items that are restocks, and basically remove the decision-making and friction of those shopping trips. Take items that, like gallons of milk or eggs or cereal in the cupboard, and take those items and basically put them on as frictionless as an automatic reorder system as possible, whether that be through an Amazon Dash button or a connected appliance that understands when an item is getting low and refills the order for them. What we're thinking here is that Amazon long-term is looking to take a lot of the traditional, what we'll call center store trips from traditional grocery shopping and move them out of their store. And then the final kind of key to this big spanning grocery offering from Amazon is the Whole Foods acquisition of last year, where they acquired a network of over 400 stores. Amazon continues to figure out how to integrate that. But in recent news, internally at Amazon, they, in the past few months, have moved Prime Now and Amazon Fresh under singular leadership and have had some restructuring with layoffs internally, in those divisions as they kind of rationalize the two offerings. Both Prime Now and Amazon Fresh deliver perishable items, so it makes sense that Amazon would start to combine and make these two offerings work together. And it seems long term that we're going to see a combination of Fresh and Prime Now. The Amazon Fresh offering has always had its struggles. I think that the additional membership payment threshold above Prime membership was never going to fully work with the idea of Prime being all-encompassing and a membership offering that shoppers would almost feel they were being irresponsible not to have. So I expect, Prime memberships may continue to increase, but I think in the long term, we should start to view the idea that perishable grocery deliveries are, at least in urban areas, going to be part of the total Prime platform. Prime Now and Amazon Fresh coming together and fulfilling these perishable orders in a convenient manner is the ultimate iteration of that. Internally, we've heard from a lot of our clients that Prime Now is almost serving as the popular desirable program for suppliers to partner with, but it's behind the gateway of Amazon Fresh, as Amazon really tries to get full buy-in on this grocery delivery platform. Even outside of what they're doing with their grocery delivery, Amazon is now integrating the stores into this total offering. There was recent news that Prime Now is now going to be fulfilling orders from Whole Foods stores in a number of different metro areas. We expect this only to expand long term as Amazon looks at the Whole Foods store locations as kind of forward fulfillment centers with perishable grocery delivery options from them. It is interesting that how Amazon's going to kind of roll out this offering given the Instacart relationship with Whole Foods. It has not yet been publicly reported how Instacart and Whole Foods perishable delivery contract that gave Instacart the exclusive rights to deliver grocery items from Whole Foods stores for a significant amount of time period. How that contract was actually worked out to allow Prime Now to deliver these orders, but Amazon is now bringing their really, really popular, really convenient Prime Now delivery program to the Whole Foods stores, and we expect that only to scale long term. I think the overarching theme here is Amazon is emphasizing and investing in grocery. It's an important area for them, and I think we are going to see continued iteration and combination of the various grocery programs as Amazon tries to simplify the offering for consumers and really service them, fully for their grocery needs within their Prime memberships. Switching to another category that Amazon is really emphasizing, being healthcare. Amazon recently has launched private label exclusive over-the-counter medicine brands with a company called Perrigo. And these items are worrisome to any sort of OTC drug manufacturer due to the level at which Amazon's private label gets promoted and the success it has in a number of categories. You only need to look to Amazon Basics to see just what Amazon can do when they utilize these deep shopper insights they have from their extensive consumer data to launch into new categories. They heavily promote their private label items and have a lot of success. You only have to look at some of the selected images for some of these OTC items. I have in the center here an allergy medicine. And one of the selected images, there's a zoom in on, comparable ingredients to the national brand for this allergy medicine. Amazon is going to be cutthroat in how they compete in this category. And I think this is just the first step for Amazon as they move down the path to greater presence in healthcare and just health and wellness long term. It's going to be a fast growing category in many markets, as increasingly in developed markets we see consumers moving into older age segments with a higher portion of sales going to health and wellness categories. So we expect Amazon to continue down this path. Another piece of news from Amazon was the announcement that they plan 6 new locations for their Amazon Go convenience stores this year. For those unfamiliar with the Go, these are stores where a shopper scans their Amazon app upon entering the store. A series of sensors, cameras, and shelf-enabled technology senses the items the shopper picks off the shelves as they move through the store and puts in their basket. When the shopper is done with their trip, they simply exit the store and their Amazon account is automatically charged for the items they picked up. This is the ultimate inconvenience and is a technology that Amazon struggled to fully work out. The Go store in Seattle, the original one, was in beta testing for well over a year and way longer than the expected timeline. But the Go store was then launched to the public, was successful, and Amazon is planning more of these locations. The known locations for these new Go stores are in Seattle and LA, but there's a number that still need to be announced. But I think we should look at this announcement as Amazon is now ready to scale this format and is going to continue to escalate consumers' basically convenience expectations for what they get out of a convenience store. And other retailers and players in this space should look to see this increasingly change the way shoppers expect to experience this type of shopping trip, and should look at it as an opportunity to innovate themselves and try and advance their convenience offerings with things like checkout list stores. And finally, one other bit of news before we get into the Amazon tactics is just the continued rollout of Amazon Alexa and just how well it's been adopted by what we'll call third parties out in the market. Amazon Alexa is the #1 voice platform. I think this is because Amazon basically invented the voice-powered speaker category with their Echo suite. It is, in terms of adoption, ahead of the Google Home system currently. And what works in Amazon's favor with the Alexa system is not only are their own devices pushing out this technology and getting it integrated within consumers' lives, but third parties like car manufacturers or appliance makers are integrating Amazon Alexa into their systems to make them smarter, more intelligent, more technologically savvy for consumers. There was recent news of a development in Palm Beach, Florida. 350 homes are being built down there, and the developer is integrating Amazon Alexa within every single home in the entire development. The idea here is that Alexa is going to become ubiquitous to consumers' lives, and long term, as Amazon's voice system is the dominant voice system, it positions Amazon in a really competitively advantageous spot to capture the majority of voice-based search that goes to commerce. And the Amazon Alexa retail platform is really going to be the true beneficiary of Alexa and its expansion long term. So we want to move past the recent events of the past month. Amazon obviously has done a lot, and there's a lot of information to recap. But we also want to look into Amazon as a business and how suppliers, sellers, the various interested parties are going to look at Amazon and the tactics of working with Amazon. We feel one of the most critical areas of thinking about Amazon is what's known as the Amazon buy box, or the most valuable real estate, online retail real estate on Amazon.com. So let's dig into this tactic a little bit more. So for those who may be unacquainted, and I think there's a really high variance in the market of the level of understanding and acquaintance with the buy box concept. The buy box is simply the selected item for a particular product search. Basically, in this example here, a search of Bose Bluetooth headphones comes up with your typical Amazon search listings, I click into the product category, and Amazon has an algorithm that selects one individual item to occupy what is known as the buy box, here featured in the top right corner of this page. The buy box is distinctly valuable. I'll get into a little bit that in the next slide, but shoppers have a really frictionless, seamless experience. The item that I'm most likely to add to my cart is the one occupying the buy box. I also can do one-click ordering for this item as well. And the reason that it is a competitively difficult space to enter is because Amazon operates as a 3P marketplace, hosting millions of listings from independent third-party sellers, as well as operating their own first-party business, where they're taking title on goods from suppliers and listing them on their site and selling them as well. So as you can see on this page here, the number one position to be in is actually Amazon. They are selling these Bose headphones and occupying the buy box currently. But at the bottom right corner, Amazon isn't the only seller of Bose headphones on Amazon.com. There's a number of other sellers that have the same exact price. They just don't happen to have the buy box, and it's going to impact their retail performance on Amazon.com. And why is the buy box this critical? Well, it's quantifiable. 86% of desktop revenue runs through the buy box, and it becomes even more critical when we look at mobile. 93% of Amazon's mobile revenue is buy box purchases. And we know mobile is an increasing percent of total e-commerce. There's recent estimates emerging that in the United States, 35% of e-commerce sales are moving through mobile first. It makes sense that the buy box is the critical location for mobile purchases. You've got less space on your mobile phone screen. When a shopper is searching through the listings, it almost seems intuitive and natural that the one item Amazon presents to you is your purchase. The shopper is not all that aware of whether their item is coming from a 3P seller or Amazon.com. The buy box serves to simplify their shopping experience and basically, using an Amazon algorithm, present them with the easiest item to purchase and allow them to really just one click and order. So what factors influence what item appears in the buy box? Well, one of the most important ones happens to be pricing, and an apparently obvious one. But pricing is not the only factor. As you can see here, a number of the sellers have the same exact price for this item. Another algorithm impacting aspect is Prime eligibility. Amazon shoppers, many of which are Prime members, do not like to make orders that are not Prime eligible. Under 2-day delivery is extremely convenient. It makes sense that would be a major emphasis. An additional factor for sellers selling on Amazon.com trying to win the buy box is in-stock availability. That affects a number of key metrics that we'll look at a little bit later, but having the item be in stock is extremely important. You'll see here that Amazon's first-party business tends to win the buy box on a lot of occasions, just because Amazon.com emphasizes for their first-party business very competitive pricing, always in stock levels, and always Prime eligibility for orders. It helps Amazon and behooves Amazon to win the buy box and promote their own orders. But this isn't to say it's completely undemocratic. There are examples of third-party sellers taking over the buy box from Amazon through either really competitive pricing strategies or engaging in some of Amazon's own programs. Final, ultimately super critical aspect of how a third-party seller might win the buy box on Amazon.com is the customer experience. And the most apparent, I guess, way to view that is to look at the review rating on the item related to the seller. Deep customer reviews, good customer reviews are extremely valuable, but the buy box algorithm takes into consideration other seller metrics that are also very important. Some of the more critical ones are things like order defect rate, basically the quality of items as reported by consumers coming from an individual seller. Cancellation rate, does the seller ever not have items in stock and not update the Amazon site? cancel orders, basically offering a bad consumer experience. Late shipments, not meeting that Prime promise is critical to the total Amazon retail offering. Prime membership is so important to how Amazon functions, and there's a deep level of trust between consumers and Amazon based on Prime. And so if a seller is going to have a Prime designation on their listing, they need to meet the Prime expectations. And then there's also additional metrics that sellers are evaluated on that can make or break their buy box positioning. Return dissatisfaction rate, policy violations, and the response time of when they contact consumers based on consumer concerns or questions. All of these things are extremely important and are items that, along with price, Prime eligibility, and in-stock levels, will impact if a seller wins the buy box or if Amazon 1P takes it, and affect the dynamics of where sales go on Amazon.com. And Amazon looks to get more sellers an opportunity to win the buy box by offering a full suite of programs that can help sellers and suppliers alike gain Prime eligibility on Amazon.com. I think the one that's most familiar to probably most of the audience is FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon. With this program, Amazon takes inventory from sellers and for a fee, brings it into their own fulfillment centers, warehouses it, and fulfills it with Prime eligibility to consumers around the country. You get that Prime tag, there's a chance of winning on Amazon.com in the buy box. The fee is an additional revenue line to Amazon and is actually a more profitable retail business to Amazon than their first-party business. They are charging the supplier all of the costs that they themselves endure in their first-party business, everything from warehousing to fulfillment to returns to the expense of answering customers' questions. But there's other programs as well that Amazon has rolled out to try and get as many of its third-party sellers Prime eligibility as possible. FBA Onsite, known previously as SellerFlex, was actually a trialed program for a while, but is a program where Amazon will go to 3P seller warehouses and consult them on their warehousing opportunities or warehousing situation, helping them out with any sort of fulfillment needs they might have, working out of the seller's warehouse to fulfill items in under 2 days or less. There's also Shipping with Amazon, a program where Amazon will handle everything from the seller's warehouse to the customer's doorstep and give the seller Prime designation, but not affect their warehousing and inventory operations whatsoever. And then for large-scale trusted third-party sellers, there's a program called Seller Fulfilled Prime. Sellers that have demonstrated, large-scale throughput in terms of revenue on Amazon.com and continued success in terms of customer reviews and fulfilling in under 2 days with the Prime promise can get the Prime designation. It's pretty much a certification from Amazon.com. All of these programs are here to say that Amazon's looking to generate as much revenue as possible off its sellers, but sellers view these programs as opportunities to advance their competitive positioning on Amazon.com. They do not have a chance at winning the buy box for any sort of competitive product listing if they don't have a Prime designation. So sellers are going to view Amazon's suite of program offerings as the means to do that, and is a critical part of their strategy going forward. But for FMCG suppliers, I think, the question is, this really affects Amazon's first-party business and third-party sellers the most. How is it important to my categories, my items, and my performance on Amazon.com? I think some of the key implications and takeaways here are that the Amazon pricing environment is designed to enhance and increase pricing competitiveness between its third-party suppliers and its first-party business all the time. You're going to get increased pressure from Amazon on your supplier relationship to decrease your landed costs to them, because they need to maintain some level of margin yet still compete on the marketplace themselves. In the eyes of Amazon, basically the experience for the end consumer is the most important aspect of Amazon.com, and really, really competitive pricing from really, really deep competition between its third-party sellers as they all vie to win the buy box is only going to enhance that customer proposition and only make Amazon a more desirable place to shop. So I would view these buy box dynamics as indicative of a pricing environment that is continuing to be deflationary, and we can only expect to enhance as time goes on. This brings up the second aspect. The buy box, as I said, is about more than just price. Amazon is constantly emphasizing and optimizing the customer experience for the end shopper. So reviews will continue to be critical. The shopper experience will continue to improve. Prime will continue to be enhanced with greater depth of assortment, with more third-party sellers getting on board. All of this is to say is that Amazon will increasingly advance its competitive positioning versus other retailers because its consumer offering will be the best. I think another implication to think about here is beyond the buy box. With new means of shopping emerging like voice and auto replenishment, there's going to be new online retail real estate areas that are going to be hypercritical for product listings and winning. I think of an example where, say, you've got a dash replenishment system, you have a connected device, let's say a Brita filter, where when the filter runs out, the device automatically senses it and reorders one for you from Amazon.com. Or say we have a connected refrigerator and it somehow can sense when you run out of a particular item that you consume at a regular pace. Being the selected item for that auto replenishment order is extremely sticky and a deep competitive moat for whatever supplier's item is there. And it's going to be increasingly cutthroat going forward. Voice is another opportunity. Voice optimized ordering, it's a known thing that when a shopper goes and does text-based search, they very often choose one of the first 3 items that they're presented with on Amazon.com. And in voice environment where Alexa is basically reading off the potential items to you, they're even less inclined to go deeper down the available assortment. So suppliers need to think about how this is going to only increase the competitiveness on Amazon.com, and how there are going to be new areas beyond the buy box that are increasingly important to win long term. And then the final implication I think about is the buy box is very much the battleground of 3P sellers. And the 3P seller environment is one where there's a number of levers to pull. 3P sellers set their own prices. 3P sellers determine their own in-stocks. They aren't subject to the same item level pricing challenges from their vendor managers at Amazon.com. For a number of our supplier clients, 3P selling is perhaps an opportunity to consider launching a program there as another lever to pull with Amazon.com to have increasing influence on the pricing algorithm, to have a buffer stock of items to prevent out of stocks from affecting your item listings on Amazon during seasonal up periods. I think for a lot of FMCG suppliers, as the Amazon marketplace environment only increasingly becomes more 3P, we expect a consideration around, well, what could listing as a 3P seller ourselves do for us? And with that idea, just to give a little indication about some of our content publishing cycle, we're publishing a piece shortly on winning with 3P marketplaces, and this goes beyond Amazon. So we're going to look at a few international markets, the JD, Tmall from Alibaba, Walmart as well. But one of the things we really explore is that last implication I talked about, the idea of selling 3P on Amazon.com or optimizing your 1P relationship with Amazon as a supplier. And so I think long-term, 3P marketplaces are not going away. They're going to be increasingly influential, and 3P is going to be increasingly influential to Amazon. So it is something that I think everyone operating in this competitive environment needs to consider and work on long-term. So with that, we will see here if we have any questions. Just to let you know, there is a tool with the GoToWebinar system to ask questions. Let's see here. So I have a question here from someone. Can you talk about the buy box impact on the introduction of new product listings? So I think the buy box, one of the considerations with any sort of new product listing on Amazon.com is how critical the total offering is beyond price. Your performance and these buy box dynamics really make it, true and known that it's about more than your price levels or even your in stock. It's really about reviews and customer experience and the depth of that for an individual listing to really enhance performance long term. So I think one of the considerations that comes out of this discussion of the buy box and winning the buy box and how all that works is that suppliers, third-party sellers, all of the players on Amazon.com need to employ strategies to really ramp up review count quickly and get deep, valuable reviews to really be relevant in the Amazon search algorithms and basically be the items that are picked by shoppers for Amazon orders long term. So in considering new product launches, consider that aspect, the consumer review depth, because that's going to really have an impact on product performance on Amazon. Another question we have here, can you speak to the overall competitiveness of the buy box and how has this impacted pricing strategies? I think we've discussed a little bit how it is, only enhanced pricing competitiveness long term. I think one of the interesting points to draw from this is in the past year, Amazon has seen third-party unit volume actually exceed their first-party business. I don't expect Amazon as a hybrid marketplace to ever be too high, almost entirely third party. It just doesn't work with Amazon and their deep kind of program offering long term. I do think that Amazon will increase their third-party share over the coming years because it helps them and their retail business on a economics basis, because the third-party retail business operates with greater profitability. Can you please clarify the terms 1P and 3P? So when I say 1P, I talk about working with Amazon in a traditional supplier-retailer relationship, negotiated trade terms with an Amazon vendor manager where they're buying supplier inventory, taking title on it, and basically operating as the retailer of those items. It is Amazon's traditional retail business and is where they started. When I talk about 3P or third party on Amazon.com, what I'm really discussing is an independent business or seller listing on Amazon.com, using it as a storefront, perhaps using some of the Amazon businesses or programs designed for third-party sellers, but really using Amazon as an online storefront and maintaining ownership of their own inventory and using Amazon to sell. Can you talk about 3P versus 1P for companies that sell perishable items? And this is an excellent question. I think the difficulties of perishables online make it long-term more of a 1P business for Amazon. Just the level of needing to have kind of on-hand inventory close to consumers for fulfillment. I think Amazon's going to increasingly use what they have in Whole Foods stores or at Amazon Fresh perishable enabled fulfillment centers to handle their perishables business long term. I think the only real opportunity for third-party operations via Amazon is there's a few kind of niche areas. Amazon Prime Now, for example, is fulfilling orders not just from Whole Foods stores but from competitors' stores, is willing to fulfill, and long term, I think Amazon will be really willing to fulfill orders from almost anywhere with their courier network, always charging a fee. So I think the long-term opportunity for perishables providers is to think about, how their supply chain is set up are they oriented near consumers that would want perishables delivery? And would Amazon perhaps long-term want a relationship to fulfill items, charging a fee for that from their stores? Perishables is a really economically difficult business for Amazon delivery. And so I think if Amazon can figure out a means to push some of that inventory risk and costs back onto suppliers and have them operate as a 3P, they will do that. Do you have information about the success of the Amazon launch in Australia? So the Australia launch, and moving a little bit off of kind of marketplace dynamics here, has been, in terms of public perception in social media, I'd say slightly challenged. There was a lot of complaints about delivery speed times, issues with third-party sellers not really meeting the promises they set on Amazon.com. I think that this is just basically growing pains. Amazon only operates one fulfillment center in Australia outside of Melbourne. And long term, as Amazon builds out a greater fulfillment center network and starts servicing the Australian market with Amazon Prime, where they assure under 2-day delivery to certain regions of the country, which I think they're actually projecting to do sometime this year or next. You'll see a more uniform and Amazon standard customer experience. They'll also better vet the sellers and get greater seller depth on Amazon.com. Right now, they're in the thousands of sellers for Amazon Australia, mostly from Australia and some Asian sellers as well. To give you an idea of relativity here, in countries like the US, we're talking about millions of sellers. Once you get that added depth, the competitiveness just basically drives up consumer experience and enhances that for the shopper. So I think long-term, I expect the Amazon Australia experience to only improve. There was also recent news in the past couple days that, or I think yesterday, that Amazon is now ready to launch FBA, the program I talked about a little bit earlier in Australia, basically where they'll take seller inventory into their fulfillment centers and ensure an Amazon level experience in terms of delivery speeds to Australian consumers. Expect them to only roll that out, that program out further, and that also will enhance the Amazon offering there. Do you see Amazon having any weaknesses that brick and mortar retailers can leverage? I think one of the inherent advantages of being a brick and mortar retailer is there's a level of convenience that Amazon is working on trying to match, but can't yet match outside of certain areas. Prime Now, that rapid 2-hour delivery program, really only works in really dense urban areas. And even then is still an economically challenging model for Amazon. The Amazon's Whole Foods store network really is only in coastal affluent cities. I think for store-based retailers that have distributed store networks across areas that Amazon just can't tap with that physical proximity, they can offer programs like Click and Collect that are highly convenient to many shoppers that want to basically build a full basket online order, perhaps at the end of the day at work, and pick it up on their way home. So there can be a convenience element that Amazon is going to work very hard to match long term, but is not yet there on yet. So I think programs like Click and Collect is a step are a step in the right direction. And I think the investment you see a lot of store-based retailers making in Click and Collect programs is a testament to that as well. For new products listing, is the Prime Badge possible only by using Fulfillment by Amazon? No, if we look actually back at that slide, so to third-party sellers, any of these programs will get them the Prime Badge. So the ultimate iteration is the highest volume third-party sellers can basically become trusted by Amazon and just basically become seller fulfilled Prime. It's basically a certification. Amazon's doing nothing in terms of their supply chain and logistics in that example. So Amazon 1P listings will have the Prime Badge for suppliers. In terms of third-party 3P, any of these programs will result in that Prime designation. So conscious of the fact that I've run a bit over our scheduled half hour here, I just wanted to thank everyone for tuning in. And as I said, this webinar will be available on the RNG portal. Please do get in touch with your contacts at PlanetRetail RNG to get access to this if you do not already. My email is listed here. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about what I presented on today. And additionally, for subscribers, be on the lookout for our Winning with 3P Marketplaces report coming out in the next week. Thank you very much.